Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, the 4th of August, as you can hopefully see there. This is What Lies in the Sunday Telegraph. I would really like to thank the surprising number of people who've made this part of their early Sunday afternoons. I knew it was always going to be a very niche video and not to everyone's tastes, and if you're coming in for the first time, g'day. But it's really been quite heartwarming how many of you are watching the whole video through. I just want to say I really appreciate it. Now, with that out of the way, we are on to what do Rupert Murdoch's minions want you to believe on behalf of their billionaire benefactors this week in Australia's largest selling newspaper. So, Sunday Telegraph, blonde, but it's a baby. And unfortunately, this child is the latest victim of meningococcal B. And the Telegraph is campaigning for the vaccine for that disease to be funded by the state government. Absent any information as to why the government is resisting this, I am generally in favour of vaccines and people getting vaccinated from diseases that might kill them. So, well done, Telegraph. That's probably your most virtuous front page in the time we've been doing these videos. Coffee's out of the flippy cup this week for the followers. Ah, yes. Two Calabrese pods Lungo and one pod espresso. 3 pods, splash of milk in a big mug. Breakfast of champions. Now, the next 2 pages are devoted to Foxtel making sure we know that we can get Netflix on the Foxtel service. And this is quite amazing because it appears to be purely a Foxtel ad. And it's selling Netflix memberships because you still need to pay a Netflix subscription on top of your Foxtel. You can just use it within the Foxtel ecosystem. So Netflix is onto quite the winner there with Foxtel flogging their service now. Well done, Netflix. On the subject of streaming TV, if you haven't watched The Boys yet on Amazon Prime or found some other way to watch it, it's probably the best thing that's been made for the television this year. It's really good. Dark superheroes. Okay. What's Mixed Picks, the editor's best? Now, before we look at these, it's a weekly tradition now to guess how many of these will the picks, the best of the paper, actually be for the most advertising heavy features. Let's have a look. The 7-Day TV Guide. Literally the best thing all the journalists in News Limited have done this week to compile in their biggest selling newspaper is a listing of what's on television for the 5 people left in the country who actually watch free-to-air broadcast TV. That's quite something. Sorry, 5 people under 60. Number 2, yep, there's The Body and Soul. Number 3, The Food. Okay, actual journalism, well, of a sort. Number 4 is Peter Credlin as Australia's sharpest political columnist. You could dispute every word in that sentence, couldn't you? Prima Ballerina's Secret Agony in the Stella Glossy Mag, so again, advertising feature heavy. And then The Most Extreme Water Slides at Sea. So I assume that's on cruise liners, which might be advertisers. So that's 6. What's in at 7? Wow, so the editor's best can only go to 6. Cool. Ash Barty, there's a Jessica Halloran exclusive in Stella magazine, which is the glossy thing that lies at the heart of this. Rebels set to rev up bikie law court fight, challenging the New South Wales anti-bikie laws. Now, here's an interesting thing. The Art of Banksy, the world's largest exhibition of Banksy art, an unauthorised private collection. I think I might have seen this exhibition in Amsterdam last year. If you haven't seen Banksy's stuff, then it's a bit of fun. I mean, it's real pop art, and I don't say that in a disparaging tone. I think pop art is, in many ways, more interesting than, what is it, Le Beaux Art. Anyway, it's just that, like a lot of street artists, Banksy's got 2 or 3 tricks and does them very well. And the guy's got a whimsical touch. Anyway, you didn't tune in to listen to John's thoughts on Banksy, did you? You'd listen to my thoughts on everything else. Folau's meme off a radical preacher. That is a terrible headline that they should be ashamed of, as they should be ashamed of most of their headlines. So the meme that resulted in Israel Folau's sacking was designed by a radical American street preacher who was once arrested for carrying the same sign and who paraded it at an AC/DC concert, warning fans they were going to hell. Look, it was just a list in some fonts. It was not a triumph of graphic design in any way, except that it got Israel Folau to share a cheap simulacrum of it. Right, Flamin' Eck. Ray does an Alf in shock heart op. Ray Marr, who plays Alf Stewart in Home and Away, is recovering from a triple bypass. Who would have thought Ray Marr would have heart issues, eh? Who would have thought? Right, this is quite something. Page 7, Damien Lovelock from the Celibate Rifles passed away, and I am of an age for which the Celibate Rifles were always Australia's second best punk band, because the Saints are very hard to shift. But Damien Lovelock was quite a feature, and his music was certainly a lot of fun in the late 80s. I'm just quite impressed that the Telegraph has actually put his passing somewhere near the front, particularly if you count all the ads for Foxtel, or don't count the ads for Foxtel. Right, driver caught between a power pole and a hard place. It's like the headline writers are trying to be clever, but don't actually know what clever is. So there's a Hilux wedged in Burwood Heights. It's quite a good picture. There you go. Frankly, I think that picture deserved better, but I suspect they lifted it off social media, so it's the best resolution they had. Immunisation campaign, no jab, no play. Now, so this push for the meningococcal virus, that lumped in under their no jab, no play campaign. And now it's vaccine. Why did our child die? Only 9 lives, only inverted comma 9 lives can be saved, saying, is the cost of the vaccine worth those 9 lives? And I wouldn't want to be the one making that call. Although $400 million, you can see you could possibly save a lot more lives in other areas with $400 million, couldn't you? The other thing I would say is this no jab, no play campaign. And as I said, I'm really pro-vaccine. I suspect a lot of it is demonising parents, particularly around Byron Bay, but of a lefty, maybe slightly woo-woo kind of persuasion. And I don't have a lot of sympathy for anti-vax parents, but when the vaccination rates in this country are the highest they have ever been, which they are, maybe demonising parents with alternative lifestyle views has another agenda. I'm just going to put that out there. But vaccinate your children. Get vaccinated yourself. Vaccines are good. Get them. Childcare fees hit Sydney hardest by Annika Smethurst, right. Childcare centres across Australia jacked up fees by as much as 20% in a year. No mention of the massive membership of the Liberal Party by childcare centre owners, or even discussion of why on earth, if your child lives to be 5 years old, the government starts looking after it, but up until then you have to pay close to a full-time salary to go and earn another full-time salary. The whole childcare sector is a ludicrous private sector rort, if you ask me. Okay, so we've got an article, Pizza Car Crash Was a Slice of History. We tracked down the fast food delivery man who sparked shake-up of ICAC. So this is the Telegraph's ongoing pursuit of ICAC and Margaret Cunneen SC. It's hard to tell who's the problem here. I suspect ICAC has ruffled enough powerful feathers in New South Wales that any excuse would be used to try and defang it, and I don't think that's good for the rest of us. Anyway, so they've dug up years later literally it's 5 years later, the guy who was involved, which, just not sure it's news. I mean, literally, they're like slice of history. Page 11, folks. Burgess baby joy for Tom and Talia. So NRL player Tom Burgess and his partner of 3 years, Talia, have welcomed their first baby, Sophie Burgess, at 2:09 a.m. yesterday. So a football player has had a baby, and good. I mean, good for them. I'm really happy for them. I just don't know why anyone needs to know or care or what difference it makes. But yep, that's another page gone that could have been talking about climate change, wealth inequality, homelessness, domestic violence, emergency accommodation. You know, babies. They got to put a pink strap on. That nice. Right, so a Nepalese gentleman's been arrested trying to leave the country after being involved in a fatal car crash. Pompeo to see ScoMo. Trade wars with China, new tensions in the Middle East and Russia's growing influence are all expected to be hot topics when US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and US Defense Secretary Mark Esper sit down with their Australian counterparts Maurice Payne and Linda Reynolds and Prime Minister Scott Morrison today. The pair flew in for the annual Australia-United States ministerial meeting, known as AUSMIN by those in the loop. Also on the agenda will be whether Australia will join a US-led coalition to protect shipping in the Persian Gulf. Here's a hot tip for you. Australia always does what the oil companies want after a healthy debate. We'll always have the debate, and then we'll just do what they want. The only time we do anything good in the world is when the oil companies don't have an interest, and then it's amazing what we can achieve. Right, inside Shayna's Hell Camp. Parents lift lid on ruthless swimming regime for teens. Parents of swimmers from Shayna Jack's Elite Swim Club have complained of a win-at-all-cost culture in which teenagers have been fat-shamed, bullied, and left seeking professional help. Wow, that doesn't seem like it's going to feed into a narrative of Shayna is innocent, does it? So we've got Grant Hackett writing a story about how virtuous he was in always documenting everything he ate. Jessica Halloran notes on the side of this double page of drug shame that Kieran Perkins could be the next president of Swimming Australia. Must have made his peace with Gina then. That's good for him. Right, Dominic Perrottet, the New South Wales Liberal Party Treasurer. I can't help stop a beating heart. His bid to block the abortion legalisation bill in New South Wales. Then we've got some Linda Silmarlis on patients' agonies of later abortion. And an editorial is linked to, for when we flip ahead to page 90, saying stop vilifying women, which might be some sort of balance, but we've got a page here of anti-abortion propaganda. Well done, Sunday Telegraph. Right, so page 17 we have Fortnite news with a picture of a Fortnite avatar. Fortnite being what all the kids is playing. And yeah, good for them, they seem to have fun. I am the world's worst Fortnite player, so I really don't share in this, but yeah. Me and the cool kids are playing World of Warships. That's not true. There are no cool kids playing World of Warships. I did get a crack on last weekend, so still got some skills. Anyway, there's a new version of the world's biggest video game kicking out this week, the 10th season. And of course, the Fortnite World Cup had a prize pool of 4.3 million last week, which has excited a few people who might have thought they were losing the passion for the game. 95-year-old's body found. Police are investigating what happened to a 95-year-old woman found dead after leaving her Central Coast nursing home on a routine exercise route. Oh dear. Oh dear, well, at least she went out active, which is not an option for a lot of folk. Kids back banning mobiles at school. Half of all students want mobile phones banned in schools. Flying in the face of claims teenagers would fight new restrictions. I mean, who cares? They're not going to win, are they? It's a tough one because one of the most useful skills a school can give its young students is how to integrate the technology into their lives in a way that isn't annoying for everyone else and is useful for them. But yeah, sure, why not have a blanket ban instead? It's easier for someone, I guess. Right, a new God Squad. We've got some new Catholic priests. Heavily posed photo of the fresh crop. Don't know if that's going to help them, but you got to have some admiration for blokes who are willing to make the extreme level of commitments the Catholic Church asks of its priests, and wish them all the best with sticking to their vows. Right, two men armed with a sword and fake gun are on the run after an alleged violent home invasion on the Central Coast. A fight broke out between the alleged armed robbers and the residents of an apartment at Barrenjoey Road, Nettlong, at about 4:50 a.m. yesterday. The two men allegedly made off with a wad of cash and haven't been seen since. A female resident was treated at the scene by paramedics. It's probably an interesting story there. Annika Smethurst, chief political correspondent, is also writing that young cancer patients have been given new hope. A new frontier in cancer treatment which supercharges the immune system will be available to young Australians fighting blood cancer. Good. Hope it works. Yeah, right. Noise cancelling headphones would appear to be the new must-have. Harvey Norman's advertising an enormous number of $400 headphones. I would note that I bought a $75 pair of noise cancellers off Kogan last year, and I wouldn't say they're necessarily as good as the Sennheisers or the Sonys, but for a fifth of the price, I think they're a good buy. And oh yeah, don't buy electronics off Harvey Norman, buy it online. Right, history was hidden inside old ute. I bought an FJ ute and it came with a tragic secret. Writes the Sunday Telegraph picture editor. So it's a bit close to home, isn't it? I guess that's where you can get your stories from. Sue Dunleavy makes an appearance to note that winter is peak season for heart attacks. Apparently it's due to the flu. So Newington College is letting girls into its cadet corps. Future is already here. It's just not very well distributed. Somewhat distributed at Newington College now. So they're noting the ACCC would kind of like Facebook to stop snooping. Is anyone going to do anything? And if they do, are we going to get really angry with them for messing up our social media? That's where angels fear to tread. So a lingerie model is posing for photos with whales. Doesn't have to be a story, does it, when you can have a lingerie model in Wales in a photo that you can publish. There's an ad for Cirque du Soleil, the Curious show, the Cabinet of Curiosities. Here's an interesting one. UE Insurance is running a program where if you turn an app on your phone so they can monitor how you drive, if you get a tick for your driving style, they'll give you a 10% discount on their premium. Which is kind of cool. If I had a car worth insuring, I'd be up. Hunt for a spearman, dreadlocked attacker hiding out. Ava Benny Morrison informs us that a dreadlocked man is believed to be hiding out in coastal caves with his pet dog Dingo after a spear gun shooting on the northern beaches. So page 32 is a full-page ad for Northern Territory Tourism. Now we're on to the source, the political gossip with Annika Smethurst, Linda Silmalis and Miranda Wood. Letter drops a bile bomb. Who is responsible for a particularly nasty letter sent to high-profile One Nation staffer James Ashby? The AFP have been called in or understood to be testing the letter and envelope for both fingerprints and DNA. The stamp claimed the sender was former politician New South Wales solicitor Peter Breen, but there's no suggestion Mr. Breen was involved. And when Mr. Ashby called him, he denied all knowledge of the letter. Are they going to say what's in the letter? So James Ashby's upset about something that's in a letter that he won't show anyone this letter. Source can divulge a snippet. It begins, Dear Arsewipe, re F. It finishes, if continue on your destructive path against others, then I will have no option but to release all the shit I have on you. Apparently Mr. Breen has been interviewed by the AFP. He said the last time he saw his letter stamp, it was in his desk in the office of the now deposed One Nation Senator Brian Burston. Source is not suggesting that Mr. Burston or other staff in his office are responsible for the letter. Neither am I, but makes you wonder, doesn't it? Mr. Breen said he was sacked by email and as such was unable to clear out his desk and collect his belongings. He doesn't know what happened to them. The sender used an address within Parliament House that is known only to those who work in the building and is not available to the public. Mr. Ashby has called for anyone with information to come forward. If the writer can be identified, then it is likely they could be charged with a string of offences. It's not defamatory if it's in a private letter. It must be nature of threats. Or also just James Ashby mugging it up for the cameras. Yeah. If this was a normal member of the public unknown to us, then I'd have a lot of sympathy for him, but it's James Ashby. Hinch plots return. Weeks after he was dumped by voters, Darren Hinch wants to become the oldest Australian elected to the Senate. Hinch, who has overcome a liver transplant, sackings, 2 stints in jail and several divorces, will embark on what he hopes will be another big career comeback over the next 36 months as he campaigns for return to Canberra. The 75-year-old said he was hurt by his narrow defeat in the May election but hadn't been turned off politics. On the night his Senate term came to an end, Hinch said he had replaced the red pin which identifies members of the Senate's in a safe place so he can wear it again when he returns in 2022. If successful in 2022, Hinch will be 78 and become the oldest person elected to the Senate. So Christopher Pyne, apparently Labor politicians trying to eat at the China Plate restaurant in Kingston were told there were no dumplings available as Christopher Pyne had ordered them all. He's a lot more fun to watch in retirement than when he was a minister. Actually messing with the lives of the citizenry for his own reasons. Keeping it in the family, it is often said that you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family, and now the Source Service uncovered an awkward family connection that proves the point. Newly elected federal MP Celia Hammond, who replaced Julie Bishop with the support of Conservative power brokers in WA, has joined her sister-in-law in Canberra. The only problem is she sits on the other side of the chamber. Labor's Madeleine King and Celia Hammond are married to the brothers Jamie and Simon King. Wow. To further complicate matters, the source understands Celia is also a cousin of ex-Labor MP Tim Hammond, who resigned as the member for Perth last year. Small circles in Perth, eh? Right, so Tony Wilson of the group Tones and I has gone to number 1 in the ARIA singles chart on the back of her song. The song is called Dance Monkey. And, I mean, good for her. Gladys is selling New South Wales to UK. Selling the vision of the Western Sydney Airport precinct will be on the agenda when Premier Gladys Berejiklian flies to the United Kingdom and Germany next Sunday. I hope she spends more time in Germany because I don't think the UK is going to be investing in much. Right, the Snitch has got a picture of Roxy Jacenko. Roxy's big spray. The writing is on the wall in the Roxy Jacenko AVO case again. The PR queen is set to get a hearing date to continue the AVO she took it against a man she accused of spray painting Roxy is a C star on the wall of her Paddington office in April. In documents filed with Waverley local court, Jacenko has accused Bitcoin trader Anthony Hess of being responsible for the attack and other intimidating behaviour. Hess's lawyer said his client intends to fight the AVO application. That will happen sooner rather than later with the matter in court on Tuesday, when it is expected a hearing date will be allocated. When the hearing occurs, Jacenko is likely to be cross-examined on her version of events, which includes that Hess has the same build as the masked spray painter who was caught in the act on a CCTV camera. The exciting lives of publicists and Bitcoin traders. Right, we've got a page of things called Gladys's Getaways, for reasons I don't entirely understand. And yes, it turns out there are nice places to stay in New South Wales. Who would have thought? A gentleman at the Gregory Hills Hotel has been glassed and taken to Liverpool Hospital. A group of Australian Navy clearance divers are walking the Kokoda Track, the Australian Camino. Good for them. I'm not sure why it's in the paper, but... Right, a legal who's who, lawyers with real appeal. These are the solicitors you want on your side when the chips are down. The ones working the most high-profile cases before our courts. You may not know the names, but you probably recognise the faces from news reports walking next to their clients. Brendan Hills reveals the stories behind them. So, who we got? Peter Katsoulis, Mahmoud Abbas, Penny Musgrave, Greg Gould, Greg Walsh, Rami Katami, and then the lift-outs get in the way. So we've got some cruising, 2 pages of cruising, on to the sport, rugby league. Then there's a feud between Kevin Sheedy and the former Swans chairman Richard Collis, which... I don't know, I don't think even AFL Tragics care about what those two get up to. But feuds make for good reporting. Well, not good reporting, but easy reporting and the appearance of news without actually saying anything that'll offend anyone who has lots of money. Sunday Telegraph Escape. Inside, a fan's guide to sporting tourism. Oh, go see the Lords. They'll give you chills. Alright, harness racing, tab form, Gundagai races today. Good on you, Gundagai. Dog torture, AFL, cricket. Time to dump neutral umps, a rule which demands neutral umpires in all tests is set for review after a series of blunders. Oh, God. Apparently the 10 combined errors, including one which helped put England ahead in the game. You know, Australia's in trouble when we complain about the umpiring, and it's not an attractive feature about ourselves, is it? Severe burns. I mean, they had to put this to bed before play finished, which It's always a bit grim for a newspaper. Kyrgios has gone into the semi-finals of the Washington Open. Case that could save Shayna. Hope for Jack after Ligandrol ban slashed. Japanese swimmer who tested positive of the same drug that's landed Shayna Jack in hot water has had his 4-year ban slashed in half after convincing the governing body that his positive sample was caused by a contaminated supplement. 2-year ban, Shayna. 2-year ban. Okay. I'd be staying away from whatever that supplement if I was a professional athlete. If I was a professional athlete. Right, full page of Jessica Halloran talking about how great Kieran Perkins is. He was certainly a great swimmer in his day. Whether he's got the skills to be president of Swimming Australia, it'll be interesting. It's always tough for a former athlete to discipline what used to be their cohort. Okay, more of the senior lawyers. Ahmed Dib, Zali Burrows, Kiki Kiraku, Omar Juinat, Paul McGurr, Simon Joyner, Ben Archibald, Stephen Alexander, Brett Galloway, Abu Suki, and Rick Korn. You know, it's a reasonably racially diverse group and somewhat gender diverse. So good for you, legal establishment. Right, so the head of Brazil's National Institute for Space Research is being sacked for speaking up against deforestation of the Amazon. It's the closest we've got so far to any coverage of the environment. More so-called world news. Cracking reservoir is damn scary for town. So this is the Toddbrook Reservoir in the UK above the town of Whaley Bridge. This is in northern England. Yeah, that dam doesn't look good. The photo is amazing of a Chinook helicopter trying to put sandbags into a breach dam wall. I will share that with you there. Fundamentally, sandbags aren't as good as concrete, and if something's already gone wrong with the concrete, they have evacuated everyone from what they're calling the red zone down below. It does look like they have rather foolishly built. The reservoir's 200 years old, and the town is probably older. Anyway, it's not good to position your town immediately underneath a dam wall. Try to avoid it. Puerto Rico is in chaos. A rare stamp, Hope, was licked. A small museum which believed to have been gifted a rare stamp worth hundreds of thousands of dollars has been devastated when the experts told it the stamp wasn't real and with the paper it was glued on. This is the old inverted Jenny, which is where the biplane got printed because of a plate mix-up upside down. Often described as the most valuable stamp in the world. That's sad because something like that comes across your desk, you're going to assume it's real, and it's such a well-known stamp that a lot of people would. This is why it's used as a fraud, because a lot of people have heard about it but don't know anything else about stamp collecting. Not that I'm saying I would be able to spot a fake inverted Jenny, but I'm in that category of people who, if they saw it, would get really excited. So, yeah. Send me your stamp scams. I'm probably going to fall for them. The hunt for the killers in Canada is grasping at thin air. ASAP Rocky has been released from jail. Rocky J for Justice, or Muso, given a bad rap. Donald Trump is among the music fans celebrating after American rapper ASAP Rocky is released from a Swedish jail pending the verdict of an assault trial. Swedish justice works to a different beat to the Anglosphere's justice, and I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying it's often quite hard for us to report on and understand, the Assange case being a good example. Barefoot investor Scott Pape, he's been inundated with tales of how scam artists operate. Yeah, I nearly got caught this week. And here we go, page 87. Peter Credlin. Debate will end in tears. There's a lot I find perplexing about Gladys Berejiklian's decision to allow abortion law changes to become the defining issue of time as Premier. This is a fraught policy area where a lot of good and decent people have very different views and where families can be divided, so it's an area where the electorate should lead the way. Yet rewriting the laws in New South Wales was not raised in the recent March election. Walking both sides of the street there, Peter. But, you know, you can expect Peter Credlin to have an awful view of everything, can't you? It's part of the reason why Tony Abbott was such a short-lived Prime Minister. Listening to Peter Credlin's political advice, but now she has a page. Thumbs up, Labor's Joel Fitzgibbon. By refusing to treat coal like kryptonite, he's recognised the reality of our energy needs and the livelihoods of his electorate. And we're all going to die if we do this. You know, if the worst happens with runaway climate change, which I'm not seeing any signs we're going to avoid it, I hope when Peter Credlin turns up around the campfire of the post-apocalyptic survivors, I hope they throw rocks at her. Thumbs down. Labor's Christina Keneally, where a speaker incites violence, strong action must be taken, but a country that believes in free speech doesn't ban people we merely disagree with. Deplatforming Nazis is the only proven solution. I don't like it, but it's the only thing with a successful track record. And if another total wanker from overseas, it's not like we need to have them here for us to hear what they've got to say. We can watch them on YouTube until they get deplatformed from that. But you know, they've still got their crappy little websites. But yeah, Peter Credlin once again taking the side of everything that's bloody awful in this world. More roads, rates rubbish, less ratbaggery at council, says Peter Gleeson, also on the Sky News page. Right, he's reminiscing about the good old days when he was covering Grafton City Council as a 17-year-old. Saying something's happened to local government, it's lost its compass. Multiple charges are being laid against former mayors, senior bureaucrats and councillors for serious criminal offences. And then there's a vacuous need to insert themselves into the political narrative. He's conflating two very different things there, and I reckon some mayors were always up to no good. Mark Boris, the breacher of electoral laws with his robocalls, is still allowed to have a political column as well. You know, in his robocall to me, Mark said he was really looking forward to meeting me someday, but he's made no effort whatsoever. Mark's worried about the small business owners who can't afford to pay themselves a wage. Sure. And Lucy Khan says, bring back Nazi Harry. Carrots in plastic bags and mermaids, these two items have potentially done more damage to the royal family than toe-sucking and imaginary tampons, and we have Team Sussex to blame. Right, so apparently they're outraged that Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, put Greta Thunberg on the cover of Vogue, and they're hating on her, and they'd rather see Harry dressed as a Nazi, as far as I can tell the logic that they're putting there. So, once again, the Telegraph is turning it up to Nazi positivity. Piers Ackerman, for some reason, has got a Twitter logo on his little dingus. Just say that again. Piers Ackerman has a Twitter logo on his dingus. Dingus being the little photo of him, but it's got a little Twitter logo on it, which I won't show you because I don't think it's going to come out, because it's a white Twitter logo on a whitish shirt. Anyway, dear Canberra, Malcolm Turnbull wasn't the Messiah, he was just a naughty boy. The post-election surge of support for Scott Morrison and the coalition since the election repudiates all the claims made by his lacklustre predecessor, Malcolm Turnbull. Yeah, I don't think that's what's actually happening, but Piers doesn't know, and neither do I. Claire Harvey is once again playing on the meningococcal bee tragedy. Annika Smethurst tells us it's time to cut the waffle. If you ask the Parliamentary Education Office what the purpose of Question Time means, you will discover that it is one of the ways the Parliament scrutinises or closely examines the work of ministers, but you wouldn't know that from watching it. Question Time is a time-wasting ritual. Annika doesn't want to go anymore, as far as I can tell. Just because Labor isn't asking worthwhile questions in Question Time doesn't mean the institution is worthless, and as we've noted before in these videos, when Question Time is used well by an opposition, it's a very powerful tool, which governments would like to see done away with. So, well done, Albanese. Once again, you're serving the Liberal agenda by making Question Time worthless. So Warren is having a go at the swimmers. The cartoon, yeah, anyway. There's your cartoon, and so the scientist on the ladder is saying, with a bit of tinkering and a few extra modifications, we can get more horsepower, and the other scientist on the ground with a clipboard saying, you know how it goes when it all costs. Hardly modern swimming. It's probably been that way since the end of the Second World War, and I don't think things were actually necessarily that much better back in the good old days when only really wealthy people could afford to do it. After a newspaper full of anti-abortion commentary, the Telegraph actually finds some spine in its editorial. They really need to rein in the scum who they pay to write columns. Let's get real about abortion. Babies are treasured, wanted, loved. Mothers and fathers are their guardians, their greatest protectors. Nobody is aborting perfectly healthy babies for lifestyle or convenience reasons. It's probably a stretch, to be honest, but that's not the point. And the fact New South Wales is now enmeshed in a nasty, emotional, fake debate about abortion is testament to the New South Wales government's poor handling of this sensitive issue. At a time when she should be cruising through the first year of a fresh turn, Gladys Berejiklian has facilitated the introduction of independent MPs' ill-thought-out abortion bill to Parliament. Oh, there we go. Splitting her own government and reviving an issue that most voters thought was already legislated. Nobody wants this brawl to be happening in public, except for the very small group of Conservatives who use abortion as a tool to create hysterical myths that serve only to vilify women in awful circumstances. Until recently, one of the few blessings of Australian politics has been that abortion, the issue which tears America every couple of years, has not been a political football here. Right, so then they have a go at Fred Nile, and in their words, Nile and his cronies don't want women having any reproductive rights at all. They're still hedging their bets there a bit. No one gets to always dictate when the political fights occur. Gay marriage wouldn't have been fought the way it was in this country if its advocates had had a choice. It just would have been legislated by Parliament. But when the fight comes, you have to meet it. I think you're letting us all down there, Telegraph. All right, the Health Hacker tells us there are 4 pillars of good health. Move well, eat well, think well, and plan well. So only 2 of those are actual things, and the others are just the power of positivity. Hot auctions. A Ride couple have had a good auction. Isn't that exciting? I see. Now we're advertising the wares of high-profile Sydney escort Madison Ashton, who has listed her Darlinghurst apartment. Nice photo of Madison. I'm not going to go there. Although, noting that she and Richard Pratt used to share company, apparently. I'm guessing she's quite expensive. Movies, the reviewers say Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw is only a 2.5 star effort, and Bickering Buddies are out of gas. Movie critics have hated every single Fast and Furious movie. I don't particularly like them, but my God, people do like to watch them. So let's wait until we see the ticket sales on that one before we agree with the reviewers there. So Late Night gets a mere 3 stars. That's the Emma Thompson, Mindy Kaling vehicle, which I am quite looking forward to seeing, although as usual, I'll wait for digital. Thank you very much. I'm not going to a cinema for that. Insider's listing movies it doesn't want remade and ones it does. Right, Insider opinion, was the 80s the last decade we really enjoyed ourselves? Yeah, if you're 70 years old, that was the last decade you enjoyed yourself. You're getting old, everything was better in the past for you. Duncan Lay is noting that New Zealand writer, director and actor Taika Waititi is really quite awesome. It's good that Duncan Lay can notice pop culture trends 5 years after they are relevant. Taika Waititi is indeed awesome. I would highly recommend seeing anything he's got his name on. And Duncan's saying we should claim him instead of Russell Crowe. You know what? Russell Crowe's not bad. Done a lot of good movies. He's moderately thoughtful. I mean, yeah, he's been a dick sometimes, but haven't we all? It's hardly a binary. It's not like getting rid of King Russell Crowe. The country's going to get us. We can't swap him for Taika Waititi. Although if we could make that swap, I'd be okay with it, because I think Taika's got more of a future. Kate's got her fashion groove back. The Duchess of Cambridge has shed her muted tones and safe coat dresses for something altogether more eye-catching, writes Kerry Parnell in a 2-page spread of total irrelevance and distraction. Alright, got a couple of pages on children's TV that doesn't matter to anyone. So-called Insider, Party Confidential. Annette Sharp notes a hostile backlash for Stefanovic at 9GB. That's a joke about 2GB being taken over by Channel 9. With Alan Jones languishing in a hospital bed last week, stricken with debilitating case of flu. Sad. His radio bosses at 2GB, or 9GB as radio staff have now caustically dubbed the station, offered little resistance with the instruction came down the line from the UN9 to fill the void with the roster of its TV talent. I get that the few people left reading the newspaper are also the few people left listening to 2GB, but coronavirus backlash we didn't expect. What have they got to say? The George Calombaris furore raged on this week as he sat down with Lee Sales on 7:30 to explain why he doesn't know how to use a calculator. Did he redeem himself? Who knows, because the tables turned and all of a sudden people were dragging Lee Sales. Some people reckon she didn't go hard enough on George. No, she did not. She let him talk arrant crap in his own defence. I mean, she let him come across really well. He looked good, and he shouldn't. ABC's own resident curmudgeon John Fain ranted on his Melbourne radio program. He was very disappointed by the interview, but he just quit his job, and he's obviously doing that thing where you slag off your old colleagues before flipping your desk on the way out. He reckons Lee doing the interview in George's restaurant was just an ad for the chef's business, but keep in mind Australia has boycotted George's restaurant, and it was probably more silent than Lee's fancy studio, so it was the perfect place to conduct the interview. Even though Studio 10 ratbags were annoyed, Lee didn't drag George into his own kitchen and physically hurl him onto the grill for the searing. I feel like he was let off the hook a little bit by 7:30 last night, Sarah Harris said. Everyone needs to settle down. The woman just got pelted with a Chobani yogurt. Yeah, Lee Sales was hit with a yogurt, and it's a tough thing. I like watching Nazis get hit with milkshakes, but, you know, if it means that the other side come at us with yogurts, then maybe we should all calm down and stop attacking each other physically. I think we're going to look back on that as a happy time when it was just yogurts and milkshakes. Poor Barnaby goes from bad to worse. Barnaby Joyce started the week in the Centrelink line, then took a wrong turn and tripped into everyone's vagina. He wasn't welcome in either location. He was confused and we were irritated. This is interesting. When Barnaby launched a confusing rant linking rainwater to communism, the crowd went nuts. He's so celebrated in his town that he forgets the rest of Australia thinks he's a bozo. Good grief, Barnaby, stop meddling with strangers' vaginas and go look under your sofa cushions for spare change before your house falls apart. Wow, that's it. I can't say I actually noticed the glossy magazine, so I feel a bit ripped off. Cool. Okay, thanks, folks. I'll endeavour to get this up as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Do be sure to like and share this video. We're not really going for the general public. As noted, this is very much a niche audience. But if you do know someone you think would like it, do please let them know, both for their benefit and for mine. And on that note, I say goodbye, and we'll see you next week.